What's going on, peeps? It's Wrath here, hanging out today, playing some Idle Heroes. I want to thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me today. If you like the video, don't forget, smash that thumbs up button and show your support. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright guys, we're here today on the Big Daddy account because we got new events, and we have new events. This is usually the account I go to. I'm not sure why. I just do. It feels right. So anyways, whatever. We've got some new events. Click on here. Bang. You got the last couple hours here of the cotton candy cart. I didn't do super well. I didn't really care. I knew I wasn't going to make it to a Belrain copy, so I wasn't that worried about getting on, like, religiously. So I just ended up 2,300. Doesn't bother me at all. I can use that to buy me some hot, bang, profit orb action. And I guess I can use the other ones here, just snag out a couple scrolls. But generally speaking, that's what I'd recommend almost everybody do. Orbs is generally your best friend for helping you complete orb events, double complete orb events even. It's always going to be a better choice of your currencies than heroic scrolls. That's just my personal preference, but I would say it's true, mainly because of the fact that it's so much harder to save up heroic scrolls anyways, that it's going to take you a long time. Even, like I said, if I'd have bought 23 of these, that's not much when it comes to an actual event. Even close. Like, I almost got 10% of an event done there buying those profit orbs. 23 heroic scrolls is nowhere near 10% of it. It's like 5% of an event. So it's not, in my opinion, worth it. But whatever. Not important. We got that out of the way. That's old news. Let's look at the new news. The new news be value packages. They're the normal standard value packages for heroic summon events. So, I mean, just nothing out of the ordinary here. It's normal stuff. It's there. But the summon package is a little bit different this time. Normally there's 1 or 2 heroes on offer that are not really on offer, but have an increased chance to drop during the event. This event has 4. So that's something I haven't seen. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I might have way back in the day, just not remember it, but I haven't seen 4 heroes with an increased chance to drop in a long, long time. All the heroes here are good heroes, so there's really, if you get any of them, you're doing all right. We're not going to talk about each and every one of them because they're not like a quote-unquote reward. They're just a statistically higher drop chance, so we're not going to go in depth on those. We'll talk about Scary, though, because he is part of the summon event, which is, bam, right here. Boom, heroic summon. You guys know how this works. Boom, 500 summons, and you beat the event. You can do it 4 times, but that's mainly, it's exclusively for whales, let's be honest. Nobody's doing 4 completions unless you've been saving those scrolls up for ages. So, I mean, it's pretty much for whales. But as always, you're going to walk away with 30 extra heroic summons, so you don't necessarily have to have 500 heroic scrolls to complete the event. You only need 470. Only 470, whatever. You only need 470 because you're going to get the remaining 30 right here as your first 200 points in rewards. Kind of nice. And that works for any tier. If you're just trying to push for the 400 tier, you don't necessarily need 400 scrolls. 370 will get you there because of these. And of course, you'll actually even need less because you get 3 each day during the event from your mail. So 21 scrolls there. Plus, you could buy 8 every day in the market if you really decided to do that. But also, one of the other good things about this event is the fact you get 15 profit orbs out of it, which is fantastic. That's going to obviously go really well into next week, which definitely should be profit orbs. The old rotation this week actually should have been profit orb event, but because they swapped it backwards because of the, the heroic summon for Christmas, they always do this. I don't know why. But they swap up the events near holidays, and then it like jumbles the event order for like the next week or 2 or a month, and it causes issues. I think one time they had a heroic summon event that was like 2 weeks apart, and everybody was like, "Are you serious?" Like nobody's ready for another heroic summon event. So they haven't done that in a while at least. But yeah, this is still only 3 weeks apart from the last heroic summon event, which is obviously not nearly as much time to save. You miss out an entire week of saving, so it does hurt you a little bit. But whatever. The rewards, pretty much standard rewards. Scary is your big 400-point reward this time. Not a bad hero at all. And of course, you get 15 relics for the full completion. Relics are hot news. Everybody likes relics. They're good stuff. Moving down, we've got the Hero Exchange. This is going to be going on in the Altar event. You swap your Altar Stones for these heroes, Faithblade and Cthulhu. Again, neither of those are bad heroes, so we'll check those out in a little bit. And lastly, we have the Grey Dwarf's Blessing. Now, here's Wrath's personal recommendation. I would not recommend that you use this node here unless you are on a very, very new server and you have a lot of extra golden gems to spend because you're probably spending on the server itself. But generally speaking, you're getting enough 4-star sets to fuse a 5-star set without having to spend golden gems. Well, you have to spend some gold, but not 40 million gold. Either way, it's just generally speaking, this is not the best use of your gems and gold in my opinion. You're better off just waiting till you have 3 of each piece, fusing them normally in the standard fusion area, getting the 5-star set, and then coming into the Grey Dwarf's Blessing and doing the 5-star to 6-star and take that 6-star to a 6-star class specific. It does save you a little bit of gold, saves you a little bit of gems, and seeing as you get 4-star gear in a lot of different events, it's not that hard to do. I mean, the Shelter event generally gives you 2 full sets, the Mysterious Chest event gives you a full set, and I don't know, is there any other ones? There probably is, but I can't think of it right now. Either way, over the course of a month, you should almost guaranteed have 3 4-star pieces just kind of hanging out. Go ahead and fuse them up on your own. Don't use this. And then jump in at this stage. That's just how I've been doing it, and it works a lot better for me. I'm not sure what I'm going to go for on the class-specific gear. I really don't know. Like, what do I need? I don't even know what I need. Let's take a quick gander in betwixt. I've got the gear for you. You've got Ranger on. You've got the Priest on. You don't have full Priest on, but that's because I swapped a little bit over to Cruise. You've got Assassin set. You don't have Assassin set. I could get a second Assassin set, I guess, for my Heart Watcher. That wouldn't hurt. There's the other part of my Priest set right there. You don't really need anything special. You've got my Warrior set on. You've got the other half of my Ranger set. I mean, I don't really feel like I really need anything else. Personally, I mean, obviously get secondary sets and get another Assassin set for my Heart Watcher wouldn't hurt. Never hurts to have class-specific gear. But I don't know. We'll see how that all pans out in the end. But for right now, since with the new events, bam, we're not really ready for it on this account. Like, we didn't have a lot of time to save up. I only have 200 scrolls, so I'm probably going to skip this one on the main account. The mini account's absolutely ready to go. Well, kind of. It'll have to do a little spending, but whatever, you know. I was so bored with last week. I don't even care if I got to spend a little bit to do something, because last week was like, I don't know, it was like watching hair grow. It was the most boring event of my lifetime. So, at least we got something to do finally. The mini account will be going through 500 scrolls. We're definitely not ready here, but we're definitely ready for the Profiter event coming up hopefully next week. Should be, unless the event order is just all kinds of messed up. We should be ready for that, and that's going to be good news. But let's talk about the heroes that are on offer, okay? If you guys don't know, people ask me all the time, Wrath, how do you save up so many heroic scrolls? I want to tell you guys, there's no secret. There is no special sauce. There is no secret ingredient to getting heroic scrolls more frequently. Really, all I do is I go to my marketplace every day, I buy my heroic scrolls, okay, if I have enough gems. If I don't have enough gems, I don't do it. But I buy them. I don't spend them. I do not complete my daily quests every day unless I have a free heroic summon. People say that's dumb. I don't care. I do things my way, and it works. So anyways, that's what I do. When I get heroic scrolls in the Aspen Dungeon, I buy them there, only on the bulk offers, the 10 times for $12.50. I don't buy the ones from the Lady Merchant because they're not really that great of a deal anymore. I just buy the bulk market, and I buy the bulk Aspen from the Shadow Merchant. And then, of course, events. Events are going to give you some, like, I guess Heroic Scrolls not a great event to, talk about it. I mean, you do get Heroic Scrolls from the event, but you've got to spend scrolls to get them, so it doesn't really make sense. But things like the Heroic Miracle gives you, I think, 24 heroic summons. You have a chance to buy them in other events as well. They're not really super prevalent drop rates, so it's primarily that you buy them. It's just the way it is. If you buy these every single day for an entire month, you will have 240 heroic summons. It's incredibly expensive. It's very much expensive, but that's just how it works. They're super expensive. Heroic summon events are not for free-to-play players. They're not for light spenders. They're primarily people that want to spend a little bit more money, because unless you skip events, you're not going to complete them each month without spending money. It's just really not possible. So if that's what you're shooting for as a free-to-play player or a new player, that you're spending all your gems here on Heroic Scrolls, don't do it. If you have spare gems that you're not using for something like, if you're free-to-play, inventory space, which is very important to budget for early game, or you will hate every event that requires you to have heroes in your bag. Not a bad idea to invest in those, but primarily you're going to be shooting to complete casino events, stuff like that, to get more profit orbs, because profit orbs are the better event for free-to-play new players. Even for me, I still would rather do a profit orb event, because I can generally do 2 completions of that in a month, whereas for heroic summons, it may take me 2 months if I don't want to spend any money to actually complete a heroic summon event. So if you are one of the newer players or a free-to-play player, don't get sucked into the trap of constantly buying heroic summons with all your spare gems. It can help you out like in one summon event, but you're better off just waiting for your Aspen Dungeon to drop you those times 5 offers for like $22.50 if you want to buy them from there. But the good thing about profit orbs is you get them from a lot of places. You're going to get 25 free orbs pretty much every month just from doing your monthly quests. And that's like a third of the profit orb event completed right there for free, 0 spent. You're not going to get that kind of offer anywhere else in the game, like for heroic summons. You're not going to get a third of a heroic summon event free each month. It doesn't happen. So it's just something to keep in mind if you're a newer player. Heroic summon events are great, they're nice and all, and it's okay to save for them to do them later on. But generally speaking, use what you got, complete as far as you can, and use the heroic summon event down here to get your profit orbs for the profit orb event, because that's generally where you're going to make the most progress. I still make the most progress during those events. It's just how it works. Unless you're really gunning for new heroes, which, again, new heroes are not for free-to-play players. You're not going to see a free-to-play player who bumps out an E3 Aspen the day he launched. No, not unless he was playing on S1 and was backlogging scrolls for like the last 7 months of his life. He's not going to be doing that. No one's going to be doing that. If you're a newer player, don't worry about it. Heroic scrolls, mainly for people that are going to spend money. Yes, you can use them to your own advantage, like I said. If you only got 100 of them, use 100. Grab 6 orbs and be ready, or closer to ready for the next orb event. You can get further in it. That's how I would use them until maybe later on in the game. You're like, I can save up for full completions. Then go for it. Early on, don't worry about doing a full completion here, because it's going to take you a long time to get there. All right, just saying. So with that said, we can talk about the new heroes. Not really new heroes. The heroes that are on offer in the event. So Faithblade, Cthulhu, and Scary. I'm not going to talk about the other 4 that are just higher drop chances because they're not guaranteed at all for completing anything. They're just a possibility. With that said, we'll jump in here and we'll go like so, and we'll scroll down and we'll click this button because it was the wrong button, and we'll scroll down now. There we go. First up, talk about Scary. Bang. Scary's an old hero. He's been around for a good while, and he's still a really versatile hero. Like, even though he's pretty old, I mean, all these heroes came after old Scary Monster did. Okay? He's been a while ago that Scary was a new guy. He's still really good. When it comes to PvP, Scary teams still do remarkably well. In our arena here, he's still probably in the top 5, I would say. That's the GVE teams. Oh, those are disgusting. That's not him. Is that him? There you go. So even in the top 3 on this server that's incredibly old, it's S10, by the way, on Android, these guys still rocking Scaries. He's still really good in PvP. He still has a lot of use there, but not just when it comes to PvP. He's also solid versus bosses, because the way his active skills work together, we'll talk about that in a little bit, he stacks up tremendous damage, especially if you have more than one of them. Then you can do some really stupid damage. But even a single E3 Scary, once you get him to E3, can make it to Hell Mode in the Aspen Dungeon. Now, it's not super easy to accomplish, but it can be done. So this unit right here is still a really versatile unit. When it comes to boss fighting, he's good at it. Comes to the Tower of Oblivion, he's good at it. PvP, good at it. Aspen Dungeon, he's pretty good at it. Now, of course, he's not nearly as good in the Aspen Dungeon until E3 when he picks up Resilience, but there's a lot of heroes that don't really shine in the Aspen Dungeon until they have Resilience. So, like I said, though, really solid unit. We'll talk about him a little more in depth. A lot of people ask me like if he's that good because they read his skill and they're like, I don't think his skill's really all that solid. And if you looked at it just based on the damage number, I can see why you'd say that. 114% of your attack is damage against all enemies isn't really a lot of damage. His damage doesn't necessarily come just from that 114%. What it does is he marks people with lightning marks. Now, lightning marks are going to boost the damage that enemies take from Scary's active skill. So essentially, he stacks up his own damage over the course of the battle. He has a chance on his active skill to add 2, but it's only a 30% chance to add the second one. Either way, every mark that gets added is going to boost their damage taken by his active skill by 35%. That's not bad. His first passive here is kind of handy for that. It boosts his reduced damage by 20%, which means he's probably going to stay alive longer, and that pairs well with his other 2 passes, which we'll read about in a second. HP and crit as well. Crit's not a bad deal. It means he hits harder because crit makes you hit harder. I mean, that makes sense. Anyways, the second passive here, his basic attack also tags people with a lightning mark, which has the exact same damage effect as his active skill, 35% increased damage taken from his active skill, but he also steals the target's attack by 10% for 2 rounds. His basic attack hits everybody. If you guys didn't know that, Scary hits the entire enemy team with his basic attack, so he steals attack from 6 people with his basic attack. It's pretty crazy. But he's also going to tag the entire enemy team with the lightning mark. So the entire enemy team now takes increased damage from Scary's active skill. The last passive here, when he takes damage, he's also going to tag them with a lightning mark. So anytime Scary is hit, attacking, or dropping an active skill, he is stacking a lightning mark on the enemy. It's pretty powerful. When he takes damage, he also boosts his own crit damage by 15% for 3 rounds. Pair that with his natural 20% crit rate if you build him for crit. So you give him a crit, crit percent artifact or whatnot, or crit stone, whatever you want to build on him. You're going to have some pretty nasty damage numbers when you start stacking these marks up. And that's why you see multiple Scary teams doing such tremendous amount of damage against bosses, because every single Scary on that team is going to be adding lightning marks to the enemy. They're putting on the active skills, dropping it. Their basic attacks, dropping it. When they get hit, they're dropping it. So you get these massive amount of Scary marks stacked up. And I do not believe there's a limit to how many you can have. It's not listed. I don't think there is. And you'll see teams with like 2 Scaries drop over 1 billion damage in broken spaces. That's a lot of damage, and that's because of how his skills really pair together with each other. So I can see why a newer player might look at this and say, that doesn't really seem all that great. 114% of your attack isn't a lot of attack. He doesn't have a really high attack stat anyway. But because of how those lightning marks work together, it does become incredibly crazy damage. In PvP, you'll see Scary a lot of the times when it gets to around 6, 7, 8. He'll one-shot the entire enemy team with his active skill, and it's pretty nasty. You see it happen. So Scary's still a very viable unit to build right now. That may change, of course, in the future. Nobody knows the future. But for right now, definitely a solid guy. Bang. That brings us over here to old Cthugha. Cthugha. He's a dude. He's a dude. Now, Cthugha is the newest fire hero, abyss hero, whatever you want to call it, that's been launched. And when he dropped right after Valkyrie. So a lot of people were really into Valkyrie. Everybody's building Valkyrie, and Cthugha kind of got overlooked. Not a lot of people built him. Even I was kind of like, he doesn't seem all that great. I've seen what he does. Doesn't seem that good. But recently building the guy on my mini account, I found a new love for Cthugha. He's definitely a solid unit. There's nothing really bad about him. The only thing I think he should, we'll not talk about what needs to be changed, all right? We'll just talk about what he actually does. How about that? So anyways, his active skill deals 236% of his attack as damage against 3 random enemies, and it detonates all burning and bleeding debuffs on the targets, instantly dealing 120% of the total remaining dot with a maximum cap based on 1,000% of his own attack. So, essentially, as you burn and bleed enemies, he will burst those dots. He will take, when he hits them with active skill, those dots burst, doing 120% of their total remaining dot damage. And it's kind of, what it does is it turns long-lasting damage, like a damage over time effect in PvP that might last for 6 rounds or 3 rounds, and it pops it all at once. So it turns a long-lasting damage into a burst damage, and it's actually really effective. It's kind of nasty and it can catch people off guard, so it's not a bad skill at all. What I think it needs, personally, we'll talk. We're not going to talk about that. Shut up, Wrath. We're not going to talk about it. All right. It could use a little bit of love because he does have certain problems killing certain enemies. It's just, but whatever. Not important. Not important. First passive. Boosts his attack, his HP, but the big thing here is he is immune to burning and bleeding. Okay? It says the bleeding and burning damage dealt by monster is not included. That seems like that was newly put on there. That was not on there before. I don't know if mine's ever been bled by the wolf, though. I can't really recall it, so I won't comment on that part, because I feel like that's not been on there before, because I've definitely read it before. I don't think it was there. Maybe I'm having a stroke. It's very possible. Either ways, not super important. The monster damage isn't the big deal. The big deal is that units cannot burn or bleed Cthugha. Now, this is important in a couple scenarios. Mainly Valkyrie's, with her really heavy damage over time, based on her HP, it hits really hard, but it's a burn. So if it targets Cthugha, it will do 0 damage, essentially, because it can't burn him. He can't be burned, and that's great. Things like Bloodblade in the Aspen Dungeon. Bloodblades wreck people all the time in the Aspen Dungeon. He's super annoying. He doesn't really hurt Cthugha that bad because he can't bleed Cthugha, so he never gets his damage boost against bleeding targets. He never gets that boosted damage versus Rangers either because he can't bleed the target. So this guy's really great for countering those kind of waves. Tower of Oblivion, same story. Those all 6 Bloodblade nodes, Cthugha doesn't really have any problem with that. He has no issues because he can't be burned or bled, and it just kind of works out. It's actually a kind of sneaky good passive, and I really kind of like it. I wish they'd make more heroes with weird immunities like this to kind of tweak teams for more synergy. And that's one thing Cthugha is. He's not a stand-on-his-own monster. He's not like a King Barton that you can throw in a lot of lineups and have him do really, really well. Cthulhu kind of does rely on a good team synergy to work optimally, where a lot of heroes don't necessarily need it. Like, you can throw Valkyrie in almost any lineup, and she'll do pretty well. It's not going to be a bad unit. Cthulhu doesn't necessarily work in just any lineup because he kind of needs people. He needs other people. He's a people person. All right. Anyways, whatever. Next passive here. Boom. When he takes damage, he deals 25% of his attack as burning damage and 25% of his attack as bleeding damage against 3 random enemies for 3 rounds. This is where, okay, we're going to talk about it. This is where I think Cthulhu needs to be changed. Essentially, what happens is if you get down to like 1 enemy, this right here will not proc very high. Essentially, you're going to burn and bleed 1 target 1 time because it's only 1 target there. If this was changed instead to either hit 3 random enemies, or if there was less than 3 enemies, just deal 3 random different burning and bleeding effects to them, that would be better. Because if you could stack 3 burns and 3 bleeds on 1 enemy, you would see Cthulhu do a lot better. But in a lot of cases, when it comes down to 1v1s with Cthulhu, his damage bursting and his damage over time won't deal enough damage to actually outdo what resilience heals on a lot of E3 units. And it does kind of make him weak. So you could buff either the straight up dot damage, or just make it to where that dot doesn't necessarily just hit 1 enemy and that's it. So just stack it 3 times on the same guy. It would help him even a little bit in PvE, where you do a little bit more boss damage that way. But right now, it's not super duper powerful. It's mainly used to proc this passive right here. When he takes damage from burning targets, he gains 15 energy. When taking damage from bleeding targets, he heals himself for 30% of his attack as HP. It's not bad. But in a lot of battles, when it gets down to like Cthulhu versus one other enemy, he either will end up just dying because he can't deal enough damage to outdo resilience heals, or it'll be a tie, where they just kind of sit there and smack each other for 15 rounds because neither of them can kill each other. It's just one of the things that happens a lot with Cthulhu. It's kind of weird, but it works. I mean, it makes him kind of a defensy troll against Valkyrie teams. But either way, I think he needs a little bit more love to be more of a, I don't know, an all-arounder that can fit in more teams. Right now, he kind of really needs a team behind him to work well. And I guess most heroes do, but whatever. Anyways, Cthulhu, not a bad unit. Does need a little bit more love from your thinker place to build a team around him, but at E3, definitely still viable in the Aspen Dungeon. Doesn't do a lot of boss damage. Not really a boss-based hero right now. Essentially, he's mainly for PvP. He turns dots into burst, which is pretty handy, and he's also pretty nice in the, like I said, the Aspen Dungeon against burning and bleeding teams like Mirages or Fat Moos, things that actually give your Valkyries a lot of trouble in Hell mode. Cthulhu doesn't suffer nearly as bad against. It's just one of those things. He beats stuff that other things can't beat, and other stuff beats him that other things can't beat. I don't know, it's a thing. All right? It's a thing. And that's Cthulhu. That's Cthulhu. With Cthulhu out of the way, the last guy we have to talk about here is Old Faithblade. Now, I say old. He's not super old. I mean, he's kind of new. But, yeah, look at that flying time. No wings, still flies. I guess it kind of has wings. Whatever. It works. So anyways, Faithblade. Faithblade used to be like everyone's Valkyrie. Everyone used to whine and complain about Faithblade. Oh, he's OP, he's too good, nerf please. I hate people that whine about that stuff. It's so annoying. Just, I don't know, good noob. I don't know, whatever. So, Faithblade used to be that guy. He used to be the Valkyrie of back in the day. Everyone complained about him. He was too strong, he was too good, he could solo teams. Whatever your argument was, Faithblade was better. So anyways, Faithblade. Is he still that great? I would say no. I would say he was never truly OP in my own opinion anyways. He was definitely solid, one of the top tier heroes. Of course he should have been. He's a new light hero. He should be good. But whatever. The big thing that Faithblade did is he chained his skills to where he did tons of damage and he could stun lock people. And it was really annoying to fight against unless you had immune to stun units, or if you could keep him crowd controlled and burst him to death, because he is a really squishy hero. Does not have a lot of HP. He can get nuked down pretty quick. So anyways, the first skill here deals 300% of his attack as damage against 2 random enemies, has a 100% chance to stun the target for 2 rounds if it has higher HP than him, which on the first couple hits will almost always proc because he has one of the lowest HPs in the game. He's a pretty squishy guy. Anyways, if the target has lower HP than he does, he deals an extra 160% of his attack as damage. So that hits pretty freaking hard. No matter who it's hitting, it's dealing damage. If it's a weak person, they're going to get hit really hard. If it's a strong player, they're probably going to get stunned. It's just how it's going to work. So it's a really nasty active skill. But when you pair it with other stuff, we'll get to it. This first passive here doesn't really pair into it super great. Basic attack targets the enemy with the lowest HP, deals 130% of attack as damage. kind of a run-of-the-mill basic attack change. Hits people that are low in HP, so not bad. A great way to finish people off. I guess it does kind of pair with his next passive here. But this is the passive that really made Faithblade shine. And that's whenever an enemy hero dies, he gains 100 energy immediately, so he immediately gets another active skill, and he boosts his holy damage by 30% for 3 rounds. If you guys don't know what holy damage is, it's kind of like a modified version of armor break, where it completely ignores armor. It does not ignore reduced damage, though, so it still gets nerfed by that. But it kind of adds extra damage and also goes through armor. So it's nice damage. It's just a nice little damage buff that pops up there. And when you look at his last passive, he already has a huge amount of holy damage. 70%, really fast, boosted crit, and he's immune to stun. So he can't be stunned, can still be petrified, can still be frozen, all that good jazz, but he can't be stunned. But the thing is, with his basic attack hitting low HP units, he's likely to finish them off. His active skill is likely to kill somebody because it's pretty bursty, and that would chain feed him active skills, where every round he would now gain 30% holy damage and 100 energy, and he would consistently just drop active skills back to back to back. And it was pretty strong. But recently, with new heroes like Valkyrie popping out with really heavy burn damage and dots based on her own HP, even on her basic attack or when she's crowd controlled, you don't see Faithblade shining nearly as bright anymore because he's really squishy. And if you can petrify him or you can freeze him or, anything that's not stun, he really gets nuked fast. He doesn't have a ton of HP, he's really squishy, and you can put him down really quick. And if you do, well, that's not good news, obviously. He's dead, he does no damage when he's dead. But back in the day, he was kind of a nightmare to deal with. You kind of had to build your team around making sure you crowd controlled him and made sure you stayed crowd controlled until you could nuke him. So, still I would say a solid, I'm not saying he's bad, still a solid light unit, still has a lot of viability in things like the tower. Even in the Aspen Dungeon, once you get him to E3, he can do pretty nice work. Before E3, not so much. He really needs that resilience to stay alive. But in PvP, yes, he's still a solid unit in PvP, but here's the kicker. For me, here's the thing, okay? Since light and dark units are very difficult to build, they're not quick builds, they're not easy builds by any stretch of the imagination. They're hard to build. They take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So if you're going to build one, unless you just really love them, like if you're a Gurky fan like I am, I like Gurky, he's a cool unit. Unless you just really love one of them, like I gotta build him because he looks cool, like I just love Asmo, he looks hot, okay? You ought to pick the best one. That's my advice to you, is make sure you're picking the absolute best light or dark unit to build, because it's going to take you a very long time to get there. So at this point in the game, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a new player or someone who's deciding to build a light hero to go for Faithblade. Not because he's bad, just because he's not, in my opinion, the best all-around light hero. The best all-around light hero right now is Belrain. She's a support unit, so she's completely different from Faithblade in every way, but she's the only really viable in-game healer right now that we have, and that's a big deal, not to mention she boosts your attack and your speed. The speed's not super duper important in a lot of areas, but in PvP it's definitely nice. That attack boost doesn't just make her good in PvP fights, it makes her good in PvE fights. You can keep your team alive when you're fighting hard guild bosses, plus you're boosting your attack to deal more damage, and you're keeping your team alive with heals. Even if she does die, she still heals. So a really solid light unit, easily in my opinion the best light unit in the game right now. So if you're going to build one, I would generally recommend that you build the Belrain. Now, of course, if you love Faithblade, he's not a bad unit to pick up. We'll go check out their costs, just because I don't think we did. Boop. I said boop. There it is. So he's 6,500 altar coins. A pretty expensive hero, no doubt. Another reason I wouldn't recommend you buy one, just because, is they are expensive, but because light heroes take so long to build, if this isn't like your 10-star copy or your E2 copy that you're going to make really big progress with when you make that purchase, it's not worth buying a light hero for your first copy or your second copy, or like, I think Faithblade's a strong hero, I'm going to buy my first copy from the altar store. I mean, you can if you're really dedicated on building him, but at one copy in, you are light years, and I mean it, you are forever away from an E3 unit, and by the time you actually get ready to make an E3 unit out of him, he may be completely out of the meta. Like, you might not ever even see a Faithblade. Everyone who has one might have just converted him off to somebody else because he's just fallen that far out. You never know. You're a long way off of making that guy an E3. Now, of course, like I said, it's not such a big deal because you can convert, you can regress. If you don't like Faithblade and you've got him to 10-star and you're like, man, I'm not really digging this guy, you can get rid of them. So it's not like you're stuck with them forever. It's just a lot and a lot and a lot of time to put into a hero if you're not 100% sure you're going to build one. I would always recommend you pick up the regular faction hero instead, unless of course you're not planning to build it at all. Then don't, just save them. Save those stones up for someone you do plan to build. On this account, I'm not building either of these units at all. So I'm just not going to pick up either of them. I don't need any of them. So I'm just going to wait, save for the next altar one, and if it pops up with someone I need, then I'll buy it. That's kind of my my mentality towards the altar stone event. So anyways, that's the events. That's the heroes in the events. That's pretty much all we had to do today. All right, so we definitely on this week, we'll be dropping our 500 scrolls in the mini account. Can't wait for that. Cannot wait for progress. Been waiting forever for progress, but that is me it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please make sure, smash that thumbs up button and show your support if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe as well, and tell your friends about it, because that definitely helps me out a lot. And I will see you guys in the next one.